Hello, everyone, and welcome to our weekend contemplation as well as Monday morning message. So this message is going to be for the entire week of Christmas. I will not be posting that entire week. So this message is for the weekend and into the following week. And normally for our weekend contemplation, I will pull cards from a variety of different decks, kind of giving us the overall energy. However, this week I felt really guided to go to A Course in Miracles and read a specific section. And now when I'm reading the Course in Miracles, just remember that the Course in Miracles is a channeled text. And with that, there are words that can be seen as very religious. And if those words upset you or you're just like, ooh, I'm turned off, that's okay. I would invite you instead to just substitute, the word maybe Jesus or the word God for whatever feels good for you, whatever you just want to say your higher power is. And really hear the undercurrent of this message, because I believe it is very powerful for all of us to take forward into 2024. So I'm going to be reading from chapter 15. This is Christmas as the End of Sacrifice. And I'm actually going to be doing a little in reverse. I'm going to be reading paragraph number 3 and then going back up to paragraph number 2, just because that's what the guidance I got was. So this Christmas, give the Holy Spirit, or your angels, your guides, the universe, the void, whatever, everything that would hurt you. Now, what is everything that would hurt you? Those are your thoughts and beliefs and ideas and emotional patterns and mental patterns that are keeping you in what we could call stagnation, what we could call stuck, what we could call negative. Those are the things we want to start giving over to the angels, to spirit, and saying, you know what, please take this from me and heal it for me. And the reason that we have to do that, the reason it's so important for us to, number one, acknowledge what it is that we're giving up, is because spirit cannot take from us what we are not willing to acknowledge or recognize. So I love to use this example because it's just like the best example I've ever heard. So let's say I have a cut on my thumb and I come running up to you, my hand covering my thumb because it's bleeding. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my thumb is bleeding. I need you to put a Band-Aid on it. Like I can't release this hand right here, because if I do, it's just going to bleed everywhere. So could you just please get me a Band-Aid? You say, sure, because you're super helpful. And you go over, you get the Band-Aid, you undo it for me. You're like, oh, I'll go ahead and put it on there. I'm like, okay, go ahead, put it on. And you're like, but Ron, I need to see the cut. Oh no, just go ahead and put it on. So you put it on this hand. This hand has no injury. So therefore the Band-Aid isn't going to help. And then I'm going to be looking at you being like, what did you do? You didn't do anything for me. You didn't help me because it's still bleeding under here. Well, you can't do anything for me until I let go of it and I let you see it. Until we can really acknowledge what it really is. And then you can put the Band-Aid on, then the bleeding's going to stop. So right there, it's saying, give all of those patterns, all of those emotions, all of those beliefs, all of those stories that you've been carrying around for so long, that have been hurting you, that have been keeping you stagnant, that have been keeping you in negative patterns, and be willing to disidentify with them. To say, okay, that was a story, that was an experience that happened, but it is not the totality of who I am. I am giving this story as much as possible over to my higher power so that it can take it from me and it can heal it for me. Okay? It says, let yourself be healed completely, that you may join with him. Now, when it says him, it's just talking about that Christ within all of us, or the energy being, the light being that we are, okay, in healing. And let us celebrate our release together by releasing everyone with us. So not only are we going to be releasing ourselves, we're also releasing all the people involved in that story with us. There's that old adage that says, the people up there are living rent free. Stop letting them live up there rent free. Release them, let them go. Another way of looking at that is, let's say that you keep, there's a story running that someone, took money from you. Okay. And regardless, true or not, that doesn't matter. What matters is you keep them in that prison of your mind. Little do you know you have become a prisoner yourself, because who's the one who has to go up to that prisoner every day and remind them what they did? And guess what? In reminding them of what they did, that reminds you of how you felt. And then from reminding you of how you felt, guess what happens then? Then you feel that emotion. Then you're going right back into that story and you're revalidating that false identity that you have built around that particular story. And again, it's not that it's hard. It's just very different for us to do that kind of work. We're not used to that. So it seems hard, but it's just really different. So be willing to look at it in that way. Be like, well, I want to release myself, which means I have to release this person because I don't want to keep reminding them about what they did, because then I'm only reminding myself. And then again, I'm back in the story and I'm spiraling back down. I don't want to spiral anymore. I'm done, right? We're releasing ourselves. And it says, leave nothing behind, for release is total. And when you have accepted it with me, with spirit, you will give it with me. All pain and sacrifice and littleness will disappear in our relationship, which is as innocent as our relationship is with spirit, our Father, God, Jesus, and as powerful. Okay. So again, leave nothing behind. Don't try to leave a little bit and be like, well, I'm willing to let go a majority of this story, but I'm not going to let you forget this one little part. It says, let it all go, release it all. And let's think about that word release. When we talk about release, we are talking about letting go, surrendering over, and saying, I am no longer going to identify myself with this story, with the thoughts about this story, with the emotions of this story. Yes, they may rise up from time to time. That's okay. I will let them rise, but I will not identify myself with them. I will not say, this is me. We can say like, ooh, okay, I'm noticing anger is rising up right now. I'm noticing that. This anger is coming. I'm noticing it rushing through my body. I'm noticing the impulse I have to punch, this person or this thing. And but notice it. You're not necessarily identifying it. Or identifying with it. You're just noticing it, right? That's it. And that feels weird. You're just like, okay. And through that acknowledgement, you are actually you're helping to release it, because you're acknowledging it. And then you're like, okay, well, this isn't me. This is just this story or this reaction. And this reaction is coming because I'm still believing in that story. So right there, you stopped yourself and said, ooh, wait a minute, I don't like this. I'm going to let it go. Okay. So then it says, this is going back up to paragraph 2. And with paragraph 2, it says, the sign of Christmas is a star, a light in darkness. See it not outside yourself, but in the shining heaven within, and accept it as the sign that the time of Christ has come. Now, what this is talking about is it's asking us to acknowledge the truth of who we are. And the truth of who we are is light, is consciousness, is life, is joy, is happiness. And it's saying to acknowledge that that is within us. And then it says, of course, the time of Christ. And all Christ really is talking about that consciousness, which we are, that is within us. that light. Because if we shine the light of consciousness, the light of awareness on something, which again, we are conscious awareness, that's when we gain understanding, we gain clarity. That's when, there's that saying that says that, light dispels all darkness, because again, we're just shining the light on it. The light and the dark do not fight each other. That is only in the land or in the world of polarity. Light dispels darkness. That's all that happens. It doesn't fight the darkness. In your room, you're not seeing the light and the dark fighting against one another, pushing. The light comes on, the shadows disappear. And it's just saying, acknowledge that within you, there is that light of awareness. There is that higher consciousness that exists within you. Okay, and we can start accessing it within ourselves in this now moment. It then says, and accept it. Okay, the Christ is coming. He comes demanding nothing. So this consciousness that is within us demands nothing of us. It doesn't say, well, in order to gain access to me, you're going to need to do A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. And don't forget H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Don't forget, you got to do all those, and then I'll give you it. It says it asks for nothing. No sacrifice of any kind, of anyone, is asked by him or asked by spirit. In his presence, or in the presence of the truth of who we are, the whole idea of sacrifice loses all meaning. For he is host to the divine, host to spirit, host to the consciousness. And you need but invite him in, who is already, by recognizing that he is host to one, and no thought alien to his oneness can abide in him there. Love must be the total to give him welcome, for the presence of his holiness creates the holiness that surrounds it. No fear can touch the host who cradles God, the divine spirit, in the time of Christ, consciousness, awareness. For the host is as holy as the perfect innocence in which he protects, and whose power protects him. And so all that really is saying to us is we have to be willing to invite spirit's perception, invite that light that is within us, just invite it in. We are very apt to question spirit on a consistent basis. But I want you to really think about something. How much do you question your ego? Usually when the ego speaks, we all just nod our heads. We're like, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, sounds great. But when spirit speaks, we're like, I'm not quite sure about this, right? And it's just saying, invite spirit in. And like I tell people all the time in my advisorship and my psychic mentoring, it's not about you inviting spirit to be like, okay, take over my whole life. I'm ready. We're not ready for that. We're not even close to ready for that. But we can start to give spirit little aspects of our lives. And those little aspects of our lives can be what we wear, which way we go to work, maybe what we have for a snack. Like just start with things that don't really have a big impact on your life. Start with those first, inviting spirit in, then get a taste for that and being like, oh my God, well, spirit told me to wear this blue shirt. And oh my God, everyone just kept on saying how this blue shirt really made my eyes pop and this and that and how good I looked. Wow, maybe I should start trusting spirit with other things. And then you start getting like a little bit, to a little more important things in your life, to then a little bit more important things in your life. And then your spirit's in total control and you are just gliding through life. But it's got to start with that invitation, and it's got to start small. Start small at first, then build up. Because I can tell you from personal experience, when you try to go from 0 to 100, you're going to fall off your unicorn a lot of times. And you're probably going to put away the unicorn pretty soon and just get on a normal horse and be like, well, I guess I'm taking the long way. You can ride the unicorn, but just, pet the unicorn first. Get to know the unicorn first. Then maybe, take a little jaunt on the unicorn. I like the pony rides, just go around in a circle for a minute. That's okay. And then, then you can start galloping through the forest glades, but we got to take it one step at a time. Then it talks about that oneness. And the oneness is the truth that we are one with spirit and that there is no alien will. The alien will that it talks about is the ego. The ego says, well, I want to do it this way. And the divine says, this is the way to go. And we're like, well, it's almost like, oh my God, well, which one should I listen to? I hear this voice that's speaking loud and first, and it just keeps on blah, 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 blah along. And then I have this voice that's very direct, kind, and, speaks very softly and just says, go straight ahead. But I got this voice saying, you need to turn because, if you don't turn, then this bad thing's going to, and it just, keeps on going and a whole story is formed. So there is only the divine will. The ego, we don't need to worry about it. It's just a little commentator really in the background that just has a megaphone. And we've given it that megaphone. And you know what that megaphone is? It's your conscious. It is your conscious awareness because we're just placing it on there. That's why spirit seems so soft and subtle, is because we've just paid a lot of attention to that little commentator with a megaphone. So now we can take that megaphone away slowly but surely and give it over to spirit. That's it. And again, when it says, the whole thing about sacrifice, of any kind, of anyone, spirit's not asking you to give up anything real. Now, this is where when spirit says, the only thing I really want from you is your focus and attention. I don't want, that's all I want from you. And so that's why it doesn't ask anything of us. It doesn't say, well, you need to complete all these steps in order to get my love, in order to get my guidance, in order to get this. It says, just give me your focus and attention in this moment and every moment forward, and I will guide you. If you, again, if you fall off the unicorn, that's okay. I'll be right there to help you, to brush you off, get right back on it. Now, the ego, on the other hand, it's going to be screaming, it's going to be yelling, it's going to be trying to get our attention, and that's okay. We can let it scream, we can let it yell, because it's not our job to necessarily handle it. That's spirit's job as well. We just say, okay, spirit, I'm noticing, my ego's coming up here. I'm going to give all these stories, all these thoughts over to you. I want you to decide about this for me. And that's a great way that you can start is, if something is disturbing your peace, spirit, you decide about this for me. Do not let me use this for my destruction, but instead for the coming of my peace. Or spirit, I could see peace instead of this. I don't know how, but I am willing. That's it. Like simple little things. And it doesn't have to be those exact words. It can be whatever feels good for you, but use it. Because we can either be stuck with the same old stories and move into 2024, moving through the stories, moving through all that stuff, like, having the ego, have that megaphone, or we can start giving the megaphone over to spirit and really start living life more joyfully, more happily. And now is the time. It says, this is the time of Christmas. Give everything that's hurting you over to spirit. Be willing to do that. And again, you don't have to know how. That's not what's important. What is important is your willingness to disidentify from the thoughts, the emotions, the story. Be willing to be like, that's not the truth of me. That is just, the ego. That's just this commentator. That's just, however you want to put it. That is all that it takes. Because I love something Eric Tolle says in his book, A New Earth, which is, well, when will I heal from this? Well, it's not when will I heal from this? When am I willing to stop identifying myself with this and saying, this is who I am? That's really the question we need to ask ourselves. And, here in this Christmas time, when there is so much joy and goodwill, towards other people. People are just like, it's Christmas and they want to be happy. They want to be joyful, and I'll tell you just today, when I went to go get donuts for my family, I went to the donut shop and this guy came out with like, 3 boxes of donuts, and they are very big boxes because he got like 3 dozen donuts. And instead of, I was willing to go over there, run, get the door for him. Do you know what he did? He opened the door for me. He said, please go right in. I said, oh, thank you so much. And then, I go get my donuts. I go to check out. And this person that's leaving in front of me who has, again, 2 boxes of a dozen donuts plus coffee, holds the door open for me. And all I have is like this, this box of donuts. It's a little box of donuts, but they were holding the door open for me. And then I went over because my mom had requested that she wanted a Diet Coke. So I went over to Steak and Shake because it was right there. And guess what? Coke was, for whatever reason, was giving out free sodas. So I got a free soda on top of that. And the lady was super sweet. And she's like, Merry Christmas. And I was like, thank you so much. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to you as well. So just beautiful, because people are tuning into the truth of who they are in this Christmas season, and you can do the same. It doesn't matter what the family dynamic is. It doesn't matter what the story is. What matters is your conscious awareness and where you're putting it. Are you going to keep on going with the same old story that, this particular family member is, a drunkard or a this or a that or whatever the case is? But are you willing to see them as the conscious awareness? Are you willing to see past their story? It doesn't mean you're condoning their actions. And it doesn't mean that action will not be asked of you, but it means you're not taking it from fear. You're not taking it from judgment, which is really just fear. You are taking it from love, and you are letting love be the guide instead of the ego, the fear, and the judgment being your guide. So I thank you for joining me for this weekend contemplation and Christmas message. And I wish you all just a beautiful, fantastic Christmas. And if I don't see you for the new year, I wish you nothing but the happiest of blessings for 2024. Because I see you as the rich, holy child of spirit, free of all limits, safe, healed, whole, innocent, and provided for in all ways, free to forgive and free to save the world, completely happy, joyful, smiling, provided for, and just surrounded by sparkling lilies that are just constantly spreading their abundance and perfume all around you, to remind you of the truth of who you are, which is divine consciousness, divine awareness, and one with spirit and one with everyone else. So I love you, I thank you, and I bless you with nothing but love.